Hello everyone, I can't believe it's already the end of February. It is crazy to me, I feel like the month has gone so quickly, but I have read 6 books this month, so I'm going to share all my thoughts and opinions on every single one of them, so let's get straight to it. So the first book I read was Blackout, and this is by Johnny L. Clayton, Nick Stone, Tiffany D. Jackson, Ashley Woodfolk, Angie Thomas and Nicola Yoon. So there's lots of people on this and it's like a little anthology, I guess you could say. There's a whole lot of different stories in this book that all intertwine. I love when books do that. And I gave this one a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was about a blackout that occurred in New York City. And you know how I feel about New York. I quite enjoy it. So this one was really good. It had a great little romance vibe. Each little couple had their own little love story, and then they all met up at the end. They're all like related somehow, whether they be friends, siblings, cousins of all the other people in the book. So it was really interesting like to see how they all interconnected. I quite enjoyed it. And it was quite short as well, so really easy to read and such a great book. I really enjoyed this one, it was super fun. Next, I read Whiteout, which is by the exact same authors that wrote this book, and it's pretty much a similar premise where instead of all the characters being stuck in New York City in a blackout, they're stuck in this town while they're all like snowed in separate places. So some are like stuck on a highway, some are in a shopping center, and all this stuff is happening and they're trying to help their friend get back together with their girlfriend. It had promise, but I didn't feel like it was as well executed as Blackout was. I don't know if it's just because I didn't like the setting, but I feel like I really enjoyed how this was formatted because we got to see little bits of each person and how they all wrapped up at the end, whereas Whiteout was mainly focused on the one couple and everyone else, as even though they had their own little stories, they were kind of like just also focused on the one couple trying to help them get back together. So I don't know if I loved that one, so I ended up giving that a 2.75. Still really enjoyed the writing and everything, I just didn't like the story as much as this one. And next I read the BookTok Book Club's Book of the Month, which was Crave, and I really liked it. And I had heard so many people say that it was like really bad, and it is, like in a cheesy way. It is such like a funny book, but unintentionally. So if you didn't know what this was about, it's about a girl named Grace whose parents died, so she has to move to an Alaskan boarding school where her uncle and cousin live. So she goes over there and doesn't have a clue that this boarding school is filled with shapeshifters, witches and vampires. Don't know how she didn't get it. She didn't really like know that anything was happening till like this far in the book, like probably like 400 pages in. It was hilarious to see how clueless she was, and it was so funny. There was this one bit where she was mentioning her favourite show that she was watching with her cousin called Legacies. If you don't know what Legacies is, it's one of the spin-off shows to Vampire Diaries about a supernatural boarding school. So I was like, how does it not click that it's like, hey, wait a minute, this is happening to me? I don't know, but either way, this was really fun and so cheesy. I loved it. And I'm looking forward to reading the next ones. I don't have any of them yet, but when I get them, I'm excited to read it. And she's dating the vampire in this book, so there you go. I don't know if that helps you out, but if you want to read a vampire book, yeah. It was very interesting. Sorry I'm just like switching the book around in different places. I've got weak arms, so I have to like juggle the book. Anyway, there's like kind of like a plot twist at the end, which you could definitely see coming when you like look closely at the book. I wasn't really looking closely because I was like just laughing at all the stuff that would happen. It was the wildest book, but so enjoyable. I didn't say what I gave this, but I gave this a 4 stars. Yeah, so the plot twist is kind of weird. Like the whole main plot line of the story is that someone's after her, and it seems like someone's trying to kill her. We don't know who that is or what the reason is. You find out at the end of this one, and it's crazy. Oh my gosh, I just remembered the ending. That was so funny. Okay, I'm gonna say it now, so if you don't want to get spoiled, skip to this time here. But she turned into stone because she's a gargoyle. I don't... When you say that, it's like, what is happening in this book? But I would like to find out what happens in the second one, which is called Crush. Anyway, so that was Crave by Tracy Wolff. If you're interested, maybe check it out. It's like the perfect combination of Twilight, Vampire Academy, and Legacy. So if you're interested in anything like that, I would say to give it a little read. The next book I read was You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. And this was a super cute little romance, little high school prom type situation. We've got our main character Liz, who's always just flown under the radar at school. She wants to just get by, but when she doesn't get accepted into the scholarship program for the university that she wants to go to, she is freaking out. So she applies to be on the prom committee so that she could go up for prom queen, because the king and queen get scholarships to the schools that they want. So she's like, yes, let me try out. So we go through all these different prom queen trial things. It's like a baking contest, there's lots of charity events. She's doing all sorts of things to get where she needs to be, and I liked all the characters. It was just super cute, super fun, and I gave this book a 3.25 stars. The next book I read was Mystical Adventure of Ashley Sprinkler by Sharlena Idid. I got sent this book by the author in exchange for an honest review, and I did give that review on Goodreads, so if you want to check it out, I'll link my Goodreads down below. But this is a middle grade book that got alternate universes and stuff like that. So the premise was really good, but I don't think the story was very well developed. There was a lot of things that didn't really add up, which is sad because it did have the promise, as I was saying. But there was this one bit where we're in an alternate dimension, and one of these witches, she's like smelling the air and she's like, there's humans here. But she doesn't know what humans are, so she goes, what are those creatures, right? But when she gets back home, it's her birthday, and her sisters have summoned up like a hologram of J-Hope from BTS. So I was a bit confused as to why these witches would know what BTS is, a human band, if they don't know what humans are. There was a few things like that that just didn't add up. So I didn't love this book, which is really disappointing because I wanted to love it. I wanted to, but I just really didn't. And as you know, I'm trying to read more middle grade. This is the second middle grade that I've actually read this year. I read The Hobbit in January. But yeah, that one was just not to the standard I was looking for. Now we're up to the very last book, which is I Have Some Questions For You by Rebecca Makkai. I really enjoyed this. I got sent this one by Hachette. I don't really know how you pronounce that, but this one follows a lady who is now like a journalist, podcaster type person, and she's been invited back to her old high school, which is a fancy boarding school in New Hampshire, to teach like a film class and a podcasting class. But this very same boarding school that she attended in high school was the scene of the murder of her roommate. So in their senior year, the roommate got murdered, and it was pretty like wrapped up, that case, pretty quickly. And now she believes, adult her believes, the person in prison for her roommate's murder did not commit the crime. So she goes back, starts a little investigation up with her podcasting students, and it just goes from there. It was really interesting. I quite liked, there was some chapters where, let me just see if I can find an example, where she would like have the suspect's name and then go through like a little story as if how they would execute the crime, and I found that bit so much fun. But I love a boarding school setting, and I love a little murder mystery, so this one was just like the perfect combination of tropes, storylines. I just really enjoyed it. I can't find an example of a chapter that I'm looking for, but what I'm saying is it just had like the name of the suspect, and then it had like the whole thing played out like through their head to see how it would happen. It was so good. And then this book is like half first person, half second person. So every now and then it says like, you did this, you did that, as if like we're the murderer, but we know who she's talking about when she says you, like you, da 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 da. do this. It confused me a lot at the beginning, but then once I knew what was happening, I was like, oh, that makes sense, it's actually pretty cool. But the ending is what got me. It didn't have a conclusion. So you read this whole 430-page book and there is no like concrete final bit of who is the murderer. So there's kind of like the main 3 people and you just have to have a little guess, I guess. And I don't know if I love that. I generally like my mysteries to be wrapped up, but it's open-ended. So if you're not looking for something like that, maybe you wouldn't enjoy it, but it was still super interesting, and as I said, I really liked it. It was just that last chapter when I was like, hey wait, who did it? That made me a little upset, but I gave this a 3.5. Still a great book. Loved the premise, loved the story, loved the cover as well. And I'm so happy that this is what the UK cover looks like, because the US cover is ugly. Sorry if you like that cover, but yeah, I don't like it. This one, much better. This is the US cover. Gross. That is, I have some questions for you. There we go. So those are all the books that I read in February, my 6 books all wrapped up. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to know what other books you read in February. If you read some romance for Valentine's Day, I would like to know. Just give me everything that you read, your ratings, all of it. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below for more videos, because I'm posting every Saturday. If you're elsewhere in the world, there's probably a Friday for you, but Saturday for me in Australia. So mark your calendars, the videos are coming. Woo, woo, woo. Yeah, I'll see you next week. Goodbye.